Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is
IFAST Podcast number 10.
IFAST Podcast. You know, when you just did that,
Yeah.
you reminded me like Saturday Night Live when they do that radio. You need a IFAST Podcast number 10.
That's right. Real low key, subtle.
Yeah, exactly. That was good.
Sponsored by Propel Water.
Propel Water for propulsion.
Yes.
So we're big on propulsion here.
That's right. Obviously.
Can we actually say that? Is that out loud? Can you mention like a product and
That's what Rush Limbaugh did.
Oh, is that
Did you
really?
ever hear that story?
No.
About how he basically didn't have sponsors, so he said sponsored by Snapple.
Oh, and then they called him?
And then, like, all of a sudden, people are like,
Propel Water.
Propel Water.
Propel Water.
So eventually, people like are going into all these stores and they're like, we want Snapple, and they're like, we don't even stock Snapple.
No kidding.
He created such a demand locally with his show that they ended up sponsoring.
Propel Water. Propel Water. We need a water sponsor for the IFAST podcast.
Dude,
so
I'm telling you.
Send me a case. Black cherry is my go-to, just for the record.
I didn't know it was flavored.
Yeah, well, that's because I'm just transitioning from the other stuff to get to plain water. So
okay, nice.
Mm-hmm. And yes, it's very wet, and it's got the perfect amount of hydrogen to oxygen ratio.
Okay,
which I just love.
I didn't know there was such a
H2O,
thing.
baby.
That's
Come
right.
on, you get a little too much hydrogen. Bitter.
Bitter water.
Anyway. Okay, back to
the show.
So hey, you had your coaching course over the weekend. How'd that go?
It was good.
It looked like I snuck in yesterday to shoot some video, and you guys were heading towards lunch break, but it seemed like a really good group.
It was. We had a good weekend, and part of the reason that I wanted to do that was when I did the original like coaching cert.
Yeah. It's
one thing to this is how you do an exercise, and I have demoing, and
right.
Eric knows how to do everything well, and he's a coach. Yeah. So one of the pieces of feedback we got was I'd love to see how you coach different people.
Right.
So that was the whole basis behind this is, hey, let's get in the gym, and we have 5, 6, 7 different bodies. Everybody moves differently. How do you choose that exercise that works best for them? How do you coach them? So it was fun.
Yeah, so you're always dealing with perceptions, right? So
yes.
So you never really know what anyone's background is, especially when you get a new client that comes in the door. It's like, what is your movement experience? So one of the things I always ask them about is like, what sports do you play in school? So so I can always make that frame of reference. But you say one cue to one person and it means something, and then you say it to the exact same cue under the exact same circumstance as someone else, and you get a totally different response. Absolutely. Or a totally different outcome. And so that's a big gap in people's thought process when it comes to coaching. So there's tremendous value in something that's an offering like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun, and it's something where I'm kind of like you. I don't like giving up my weekends and my free time, but once or twice a year for a group like that wants to get better and is serious about getting better. It's fun. It's fun. They're investing in themselves. You're investing in yourself, and then you're also paying it, actually playing it forward. I'm a big fan of the long game, so the infinite game, if you will. Yeah.
And so a big fan of the play it forward concept.
I love it, and it kind of works seamlessly into our topic for today, which is building rapport and relationships.
Oh, nice.
With your clients, your athletes, and your patients.
Cool.
So I'm going to actually start with you because.
Do we not have enough rapport?
Well, very well played. I think we have some rapport
I think we do well.
15 some years.
Yes.
But
has it been that long?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
2005.
Holy
Alan Cosgrove
crap.
put us in touch. You beat me to the email. And you said free ART, and I think I was at your house within an hour or two. So, but no, I think it's a very important topic because I've seen it time and again, and I've got some thoughts that I want to share, but I would love to hear from you to start, because when somebody has raised their hand and said, I am in enough pain that I want to come see somebody, how do you go about building rapport the first time somebody's walked in the door? What are some things that you do?
Well, the very, very simple stuff.
Yeah, start simple.
It doesn't matter what book you read. I think that everybody's going to mention this. Is like the smile, the handshake, and the name.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so immediately, people hear their name, and that's the most flattering thing you could say to somebody.
Absolutely.
You smile, and that immediately puts them at ease. So our brains are constantly scanning the environment for danger and threat, and nothing puts people more at ease than a smiling face.
Yep.
Right? That's why we see faces in clouds and everything, because we are pre-programmed to identify those things.
Okay.
Right? And so those are the biggies. I also, people can't see this, but we're actually in the purple room. But this room is actually set up specifically to create the world's greatest home field advantage.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't necessarily like, I think this is lavender on the walls.
Yes.
I don't necessarily like lavender, but it's a very calming, relaxing color.
Yeah.
Right? Because remember the horrible reddish brown that there used to be. People come in, their eyes are like, they're huge. It's like, oh my God. And talk about like tension.
Yes.
So we painted this room a certain color to put people at ease. So there's an element of calming effect that helps people establish rapport, because if you're constantly in a state of threat, if you're constantly in a state of protection, you're not going to offer anything up to me.
Right.
I also sit in a very specific place that I know puts people at ease. So I sit to their left during the initial consultation, because I know that it's a little bit more. It's easier for them to sort of turn their head in that direction.
Right.
Right. And so I sit over there, and then that becomes a little bit of a calming kind of a thing too. So so they turn towards me, and I'm facing them, and I open myself up to them.
Right.
I literally face them.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm also at a safe distance, so I don't invade very personal space, which is like the 3 to 4 feet kind of a thing, because all you gotta do is sit too close to somebody, and then once again they're kind of locked up.
Yes.
And
I think we've all been around that person, right? That doesn't
Right.
understand personal space.
Exactly. And so right away, it's like just that little bit establishes your ability to communicate, which is the foundation of everything that's going to follow. No matter what I ask, no matter what I see in them, I want to give them the best opportunity to share what they need with me, because that's why they're here.
Right.
They don't care who I am, to
Right.
be honest with you. They only care how much I can help them. And so I want them to be able to express themselves as comfortably as possible. So like I said, we set this whole thing up very, very, because remember the room used to be turned around.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to hate that, because you could just tell right away. It's like, people digging in their claws and just not offering up with the information you need. And so this has been it's been a really neat thing.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Does that change at all? Like, it's one thing if you have, what I would consider to be an average physical therapy client, an average amount of pain. Obviously, they have different perceptions.
Right.
But what about the chronic pain person? Like, how does that change? Because I'd imagine their wall is their level of resistance is incredibly high. They've
Absolutely.
tried it all. They've seen it all.
Yes.
How does that change?
I don't think that my initial approach changes that much, other than the fact that I try to, again, that my orientation towards them is to try to be as open as possible. The typical presentation that you're going to get with them is somebody that's going to sit in they sit in the farthest chair away. They cross their legs and their arms because they're going to protect. They're literally in a protective mode.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is, the first thing that I'll do is I'll mirror them.
Okay.
Okay. So I will cross my legs and my arms.
Yeah.
And so they can see that.
Right.
And then I change.
Okay.
I change first.
Right.
Right? And so I start to open myself up.
Yeah.
And then my goal then is for them to be able to, and they won't do it consciously, of course.
Sure.
But I just want them to be put at ease. I want them to know that it's safe.
Yep.
And so I will demonstrate the same protective mannerisms that they will show me, and then I will show them that it is safe. And then you just kind of hope that at some point in time that you say the right thing. And that's one of the things you got to be very, very careful about, as to how you speak, because the thing that we don't want to do, one, we don't want to personify pain, so people take ownership of that.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that they're not seeing it as something that is part of their identity.
Okay.
But then it comes down to some conversation as well.
Yeah.
It's like, what are they interested in? Who are they? What do they find? Do they find anything amusing? Because anytime you can inject humor into a situation, that's always a good thing, because it tends to put people at ease. Just don't make the stupid joke, and you will make the stupid joke. I still do. I still say the wrong thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the time. Happens all the time. You go for the joke to try to. Your intent is to put them at ease, but again, you can say the wrong thing, and then you just bang your head on the steering wheel on the way home, and then everything's fine until the next day.
Yeah.
But again, that is the hardest situation, because they have been through it all. They've been told so many things, and they are defensive. And so again, just trying to read their posture, reading their expression, using your own posture, using your own expression to communicate with them is one of those really, really powerful things that people need to recognize.
Yeah.
So let me turn the tables on you, because you don't. It's like I get to lock people in a room.
Right.
Not technically, it's not locked. But you have to be more out in the open spaces more than I do. And I go out there, but I get to decide when we go out there. You're out there like from the get-go.
Right.
So think of all the distractions that you're dealing with, and think of all the open space that you have.
Yeah.
And especially when starting a new client who is in unfamiliar territory. So take me through your process to establish the whatever level of communication you need to establish the rapport, increase the comfort, etc. So give me something there.
Yeah. So in a perfect world, the first thing that I do is, if they're going to see you first, I'm going to sit in on their assessment. So we can always play off each other a little bit, and we can make them feel at ease. That's why sometimes I'll use the corny jokes when you're doing stuff, or try and make them laugh just to put them at ease.
Right.
But it also shows right off the bat that I'm invested in them. Like, I don't have to be there, but I want to be there because I'm invested in them. It also, I feel like, smooths the transition when we go out on the floor, because I know, okay, what does Bill want to chase with this person? What cues did he use? So it makes the transition very seamless. But I'm right there with you. I think the first thing that I'm trying to do is figure out, okay, what are they really excited about? And with your Gen Pop people, that could be their kids, their work, hobbies, all that stuff. With athletes, it's really interesting, because on one hand, some are really into their sports. Like, they want to talk basketball all the time, and did you see this guy, and did you see what he got paid, and whatever. Mm-hmm. Others don't want to talk about their sport at all. So I think that's really important. You got to figure out, like, what are they excited about, whether it's sports, inside the gym, outside the gym, their family. So you have these common denominators that you can work with when you're chatting with somebody. Because, look, the worst thing if you're training somebody is, like, I always joke around that the longest minute ever is the minute where you're standing staring at somebody and you don't have anything in common and nothing to talk about, but then they're supposed to be resting. It's like, wow, it's been like 15 seconds.
Yeah, it seems like an eternity. And then you rush it. And then you rush it because you don't have that level of communication or rapport. You don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm always trying to find these relational points. I'm asking a lot of open-ended questions. As we get into the workout, I'm always trying to give them a better understanding. Like, I feel like a big piece of our job is education. So it's not just we do this because we do this. It's we do this because it's going to help you do this better. Or we're going to do this exercise because it's going to help you do better when you squat or bench or whatever exercise we're working on. Mm-hmm. So I think those are like the really big keys for me. Like you said, being able, knowing their name, knowing their interest, being relatable and having ways to relate what they're doing and how it's valuable to their end goals. Like, the more you can connect the dots for people, I think the better, because then they feel like, oh, this guy or this gal, whoever, they get me. They understand me. They understand what I want to get, and they're creating a program that's going to help me get there.
Right. The ability to ask the patient or the client questions that allows them to express something about themselves, I think, is one of the key elements of this whole thing. So, if you were, so you've known your wife since you were at kindergarten,
basically, 19,
yeah.
But
so you didn't have the rough dating life like we all did. No. Besides you, and you live this perfect life with your perfect kids. And, anyway, so those of us that actually go through dating life, there's this approach where if you can get somebody to talk about themselves, that again,
yes.
Most people have tremendous self-interest, and it's not in a negative way. It's just that's how we are.
Yeah.
And so when you get a patient or client to actually express something about themselves, it also eases that comfort. And then again, you ask the question of them, and you ask a question of interest in one of the things that they're really, really passionate about. Then I think that's really powerful. So let me tell you a quick story.
Yeah, I love it.
So a lifetime ago, when I was working in people's homes, I worked with a woman that did dressage, which is so it's not horseback riding per se as people would perceive it as horseback riding. Is the show element of it, right?
Yes.
And so I got to know a little bit about that.
Yeah.
And then 15 years later, I'm sitting in here in the purple room, and I got a student with me, and someone comes in and mentions dressage, right? And so immediately I go into a conversation about asking her questions that I knew the answers to because I'd worked with somebody previously. But the students, they're like, how did you know?
Yeah.
You know, and so that's just a little bit of paying attention to things. And so, you know, you get a number of guys in here that do jiu-jitsu, and so, you know, you follow UFC a little bit, or you pay attention. I used to watch jiu-jitsu videos just so I could understand what was going on in UFC, but it paid off in a number of ways in my ability to communicate with clients that came in here that do jiu-jitsu. So immediately you have those little connections. So paying attention to any number of things that are just, I don't know, casual interests or whatever. Goes a long way, because you can pull from that when you find out that, oh, so-and-so's interested in this. Okay.
It's such a great point, and it reminds me, again, I think in-home forces you to do this.
Yes.
Because it's one-on-one, you're in their home court, you know, so even if they're the most welcoming person, it's still slightly uncomfortable because you're in somebody else's home working them out. Right. But yeah, I mean, I had one of our very wealthy clients, had nothing in common with this guy. He was into like woodworking, wine and cigars. So I have no woodworking skills.
Don't have a lathe.
Smoke.
You don't have a lathe in the garage that you've been working with.
No, I'm not doing any of that. So it's like, so I started reading like Wine Spectator magazine. Like,
oh wow!
Just to like learn about it.
Right.
Because you know, like you have to find something, and again, it shows an investment in them, right? They're like, oh, where did you hear about that? It's like, oh, I was reading up about this. I know you're so into that.
And you're a wine person now.
I am a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not like
no,
aficionado,
but you do know your differences and such. Yeah. Okay.
So it's cool. And I think one of the things that I've noticed over the years, and I would assume this is somewhat similar to your chronic pain people, but you know, some people ask about, oh, well, you know, how do you work with pro athletes and what's the difference there? And I would say the biggest thing is, kind of like your chronic pain people, their fence is a little bit higher. Sure. You know, they've got a lot of people that are interested in them for good and bad reasons.
Right.
So with me, you know, it's always about, number one, showing interest in them and outside of their sport and whatever. But like learning about them. What are they interested in? What are they passionate about? And, you know, it comes back to even when I think you're probably doing an assessment or a consult, when I'm working with a pro athlete, even when we're doing our initial consulting calls with potential new members of the gym, I always tell our staff, you should be talking about 1/3 of the time.
Right.
If you're talking more than 1/3 of the time, you need to shut up.
Right.
And let them tell their story, because it's not about us.
Right.
It's about them and the outcome that they want.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's always about them. And so I think that one of the mistakes that the young coaches make is, as you said, they're talking too much because they want to demonstrate their value and their worth to the client, when the reality is that they need to understand is that the client doesn't care what you know beyond what you can do to help them achieve whatever they perceive their goal to be. Yes. And that's why they're here, and so that's why you keep, you know, a sort of a lid on your cueing, your coaching, the conversations that you have. Don't give them so much information that they become overwhelmed, or don't be the guy that throws around the useless industry-laden jargon that gets just perpetuated, because then the client will latch onto that at some point in time, and now you've got somebody that is going to go searching for other information, and they're going to come back and they're going to challenge you. And not that it's necessarily a bad thing for the client to be educated, but if it becomes a conflict, then you've created that yourself.
Yes. Yes.
And so, just again, word to the wise.
Yes, I'm sure we've all probably made that mistake at some point.
We've all been a young coach, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've talked about this before on previous shows, is that, sometimes the best thing to do is just to shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you had to give young physical therapist one piece of advice, I hate that question sometimes, but like if you had to give them one thing actionable that they could take away from listening to this, what would the one actionable thing be? If you're not doing this, start doing it today.
Keep the conversation focused on them.
Yeah.
And allow them to express themselves.
I like that.
More than anything else. If Jay Chung were here, what he would say is you got to learn how to date your client.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's kind of how it is in that initial stage, where you got to let them express themselves. You got to let them be themselves and let them know, or let them know that they're safe.
Yeah.
Let them know that they're safe. And the best way to do that is to allow them to express themselves.
Yeah, I love that. If I had to chime one in, I would say very similarly, your goal should be to find out what they're interested in as quickly as possible. And it doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter. Some people are going to be really into the fitness side or the sports side of things. Right. Others, it's the last thing on their mind. It's a means to an end. So those people, you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper. Right. You're going to have to figure out, okay, what makes this person tick outside of the gym? Yeah, and I think in both of our recommendations, the underlying message is that they're coming into a foreign situation which is ultimately threatening, and to put them at the greatest of ease. What do they know the best? And that would be themselves. And so you give them that opportunity. Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. That was good. This was good. It was good for number 10. Number 10, double digits, man. So big. Well, it depends. It depends. If you're going Roman numerals, it's just an X. Oh, that's true. So next one would technically be XI. All right. Oh, man. On that note, wow, this was great, man. This was good. I hope it's useful to everybody that's listening and watching. So I guess we'll do this next week. Yeah. Until next time. All right. See ya. See ya.